Bill Villa is joining me right now. Bill, as many of you know, lost his daughter to a drunk driver. Killed by a drunk driver in 2006, and his nightmare was only beginning because it was not just the nightmare of his daughter being killed at 25 years of age, but the nightmare of realizing that you were going to have to fight for justice. And rather than have it unfold as we all think it does, he ended up having to fight extremely hard just to get the sentence that he got against the drunk driver. Bill?
Yeah, you can't sit back and expect them to do their job in Lehigh County. They really don't. There's
in a lot of places too.
But there's definitely a culture of corruption and incompetence that permeates the office of Lehigh County District Attorney Jim Martin.
Don't hold back, Bill. Tell me how you really feel.
Okay. I don't like to be wishy-washy.
Yeah. So
I can give you examples.
I know. Yeah, you have in the past. But here's the deal. There's a lesson. There's a couple of lessons here. One is that I think a lot of people who've never been through the justice system have no clue how it works or it doesn't work. And as Jim told Bill at one point, I'm not representing you. I'm here to represent the Commonwealth.
Unless the victim wants to go easy on the defendant, which happens a lot in DUI cases, in DUI homicides. A lot of times the victim family, they don't have any fight. Sometimes they even know the criminal defendant. So sometimes they're merciful. In that case, Jim Martin's all ears. You know what I mean? He'll do that. But if you're a victim family who wants a DUI killer prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, well, then he doesn't represent you. He represents the Commonwealth.
So I know what brings you here today, but what brings you here today?
Well, we're following up on the case of James W. Lauer, a recent DUI that took place in Allentown, January 19th, Sunday, 1:30, around 21st and Tillman. Mr. Lauer was almost 3 times the legal limit. He ran a stop sign, T-boned a van, flipped it 3 times, ejected 2 children onto the street, also injured a pregnant woman who was passenger. He kept going. Bystanders followed him. They arrested him in his garage. It was his 4th DUI. In 2010, when Mr. Lauer was doing time for his 3rd DUI in Lehigh County Prison, they gave him an afternoon furlough to attend a wedding. So I smell a case fix here, and especially when I saw that Chief Deputy DA Renee Smith is the, quote, prosecutor, and I put that in quotes because I was in the courtroom on May 19th for the arraignment, and Renee Smith came in, and I couldn't believe the way she was cuddling with criminal defendant Mr. Lauer, who reminds you of Robert Blake a little bit. 5'3", muscular, looks like he'd start a fight with anybody in 2 seconds. But I couldn't believe how cozy the prosecutor was with the criminal defendant.
Now, she'd say that because he had no representation there, she was then informing, because that was continued, was it not?
There's a status conference scheduled for June 29th. He didn't have a public defender, which I don't know what took so long. I mean, he was arrested and has been incarcerated since January 19th. It's now May 19th, and he still doesn't have a public defender. Why?
So there's 2 lessons. One is to have you guys learn that you better be ready to fight for yourself, number one. But the second lesson is when a repeat DUI offender, because you say, why do you have this guy on? He's just some bitter guy who lost his daughter. That's all. I mean, he only lost his daughter. I mean, I don't understand why.
I'm not bitter, really.
I don't understand why he's so upset.
I would like to see people charged with and convicted of the crimes they commit. And in Lehigh County, with drunk drivers, that rarely happens, thanks to Jim Martin.
The lesson to be learned here for us, the second lesson, is when it's your kid that's ejected from a car, when it's your pregnant wife that's in a van, and it's another repeat DUI offender, then you might want to know Bill Villa. And so Bill is a great advocate for all of us because I don't drink at all, let alone drink and I never drank in my life. I don't drink and drive. I just don't do it. And I don't appreciate those that do. More than ever, once you have children and grandchildren, you don't appreciate those that do. And you certainly don't appreciate those that don't go hard on them. I don't know why I have the law. And you can say, okay, it was the first time. 4 times now.
Yeah,
and
4
he
times.
Didn't he even beat an interlock violation too?
Well, he has 4 DUIs, 2 interlock violations, and a hit and run DUI. And I've said this before, on my April 10th show. I mean, I don't have any vendetta against James W. Lauer. I would like to see, obviously, he has a profound problem with alcohol. He needs treatment. And I think a maximum sentence for him, 2.5 to 5 years, send him to SCI Chester, where they have a good drug and alcohol rehab facility, would be the best way to protect the citizens of Lehigh County. And I think would be in Mr. Lauer's best interest, too.
Yeah, because he's got a problem.
He obviously does, yeah. And it's a DUI homicide waiting to happen. And I'm trying to deter a case fix here. When Renee Smith was cuddling with James Lauer in court, one of the, I think it's the court crier, kind of a matronly woman, kind of gave her a ixnay on the cuddling. And Renee Smith turned around and looked at me in the back of the courtroom, and I could see her mouth go, yeah, that's him.
Right, because they know you. You're a pain in their butt. You're at a lot of these cases that some people would say don't concern you.
Well, I'm the only one who's watching them. I mean, and me and you. The Morning Call gives Jim Martin a pass. Channel 69 News is pretty much his, press agent.
Yeah, on another issue, I'm going to just interject. We're going to have somebody on next week about the FedEx sale. Or the land to FedEx. And again, this guy, just like you, says, I called 69, they don't want to talk to me. I called other places, they don't want to talk to me. Because once they've made up their mind whose side they're on...
Well, they print Jim Martin's press releases, which are penned by Debbie Garlicki. Debbie Garlicki, longtime courthouse beat reporter at the Morning Call, who lost her job through the Tribune Company shakeouts. Martin created a job for her in his office, executive aide. So that's awful cozy, I think. And you won't read about that anywhere except at my website, Lehigh Valley Somebody.
That's Lehigh Valley Somebody?
Yeah.
Lehigh Valley Somebody. All right, that's Bill's website.
Let me give you a little backstory on Renee Smith, Bobby. This is what concerns me about her. She was in charge of the DUI homicide involving my daughter, Sheena, when she was killed. And soon after Sheena was killed, I was consulting with former Potter County District Attorney Jeff Lieber, who is... He's since deceased, but for many years he was kind of the preeminent source for DUI homicide and getting tough convictions. He sent me a couple of cases, Pennsylvania cases, where drunk drivers who had killed people were charged with third-degree murder, convicted of third-degree murder, and their convictions were upheld on appeal. I thought because of the malice involved, a crash speed of minimum 85 miles an hour.
On Parkway Boulevard in Allentown.
A 35 mile an hour zoned street right across from the Rose Garden. I thought that presence of malice warranted a charge of third-degree murder.
People were in your daughter and her boyfriend at the time were screaming at the driver to please slow down.
And he ignored their pleas to stop. That qualifies as malice.
He also had admitted that he knew he had blackouts.
That's right. That was another instance. They actually had 2 avenues to a slam-dunk third-degree murder charge. They really did. But I took these cases to Renee Smith. They had one meeting with our family on May 16th, 2006, and I brought her my precedent Pennsylvania third-degree murder cases. And she said to me, well, those are old cases. They're outdated. And there's a trend of those kinds of prosecutions being reversed on appeal. So doing my research in the law library at the time, which was located right across the hall from Jim Martin's office, I looked for a trend of reversals. Do you know how many I found?
None.
0.
Yeah.
I did find 3 more cases of DUI homicides that were charged as third-degree murder. Good law. So now I had 5 cases. Commonwealth versus Kling, Urbanski, Pig, Scales, and Levin. 5 precedent cases.
And they chose not to seek the third-degree murder charge against him.
And Renee Smith, well, she either lied or she didn't know the law. So again, I'm alleging corruption and incompetence. So
right. One of the two.
It's one of the two. I mean, Renee Smith either lied or she's incompetent.
So here's where it comes down to now this Lauer case, and to you at home. Do you want this DA's office bargaining away repeat DUI offender cases?
Yeah, they're going to cut a deal. They don't want to go to trial.
So she's the one that's prosecuting this guy?
Yeah, and I put that in quotes, prosecuting him, more like cuddling with him.
Right.
Openly in court until she saw, oh yeah, that's him.
Yeah, well, because she'll say, well, I was just telling him since he didn't have a lawyer, I was telling him his rights.
She's kind of cooing in his ear. She ran for judge recently, Renee Smith. Back, recently when McCarthy and Pavlik and Reichley ended up winning. Renee Smith spent the most money and came in dead last, and I take some credit for that because Renee Smith was in blatant violation of the Pennsylvania Code of Judicial Conduct while she was running for judge.
Meaning what?
Well, Canon 7.A, political conduct in general, says a judge or a candidate for election to judicial office should not publicly endorse a candidate for political office. Renee Smith was circulating ballot petitions for her boss, Jim Martin, at the time. That's certainly endorsing a political candidate. Worse, she was openly sitting on Jim Martin's re-election campaign host committee.
While she's running for judge.
While she's running for judge.
That is a conflict of interest.
There was a complaint filed with the disciplinary board of the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, and Renee Smith did get a stern warning letter. Anybody wants to look that up, that is document JCB complaint number 2011-184.
Yeah. Again, what this boils down to is
a culture of corruption and incompetence in the office of Jim Martin.
And if Jim ever wants to come on and debate you here, he will welcome to have you and him in the studio. That could be fun.
Yeah, I've debated Jim once already at West End Youth Center. Yeah. Ask him about that.
Yeah, so he's welcome to come in. I mean, my concern is, everybody makes all kinds of allegations about Bill, and they try to vilify him, and
Good luck.
Him. But the point is, I don't care about any of the other stuff you guys are all arguing over. On this, I'm on his side, and I don't want to see this DA's office bargaining away on a repeat DUI offender.
And I bring verifiable and liable-proof facts here. You know that. You wouldn't have me on if I didn't.
Well, he shows me. I have, when he comes in, I have multiple pages of documentation that he provides to back up what he is asserting.
Can I tell you what happened then finally in court, Bobby, on the 19th? Renee Smith and a public defender who they grabbed, I think, from the gallery, they approached the bench. It was Judge Kelly Bannock. And for the next 10 minutes, it went on forever. Renee Smith conducted kind of a whisper conference with Judge Bannock. It went on for really, really long. And then finally, Judge Bannock addressed defendant James W. Lauer and said, "All right now, Mr. Villa."
So you knew they were talking about you.
So we knew who Renee Smith was talking about.
So Judge Bannock called Lauer
me, and I raised my hand just to let her know, no, I'm Mr. Villa, and her face was as red as the WAEB logo, and I could see how hard she was trying to not look at me.
So do you wonder, folks, does it make you wonder who's representing you and why are we coddling criminals? And so we talk about all the stuff in Washington. We can talk about all the judicial things that happen at state levels and rulings we don't like. It's happening in our own backyard, and we need to be paying attention to this stuff too, because it matters. This is where it hits home. It hits home on not just the level of DUI, but perhaps if they're doing this on DUI, I say if, and boy, Bill presents a good case.
Oh, there's lots of other cases.
Then you tell me, what else are they doing this on?
I hear from somebody every week with a case.
Give me your contact information. We got to run Bill Villa, and again, it's Lehigh Valley.
Google Lehigh Valley somebody, and you'll read all the stuff the Morning Call and 69 News won't cover.
And then they can link to you on that page.
Yeah, they can get me there. Yep.
Great. All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Bobby.
Yep. News Radio 790 WAEB. Tomorrow at this time, Randall Wenger, Chief Counsel for the Pennsylvania Family Institute.